Say hi, Daddy. Say hi, Daddy.
Hi, Dad.
Whose goddamn white baby is that?
Live-action adaptations have always been very hit or miss, with a 90% miss rate. From the catatonic flop that was the Super Mario Bros. Movie, to the Dragon Ball live-action that must not be named, Hollywood has always had a history of not understanding what audiences want when they shift from one medium to another. One Piece has had an incredibly successful launch. It had the odds stacked against it, and boy, did it have some odds. And it delivered. Adapting Death Note, another popular anime, should have been easy for all intents and purposes. The only supernatural elements are the Shinigamis, and the story is just set in a moodier version of Japan. So why did it bomb so badly? What makes a good live-action anime adaptation? In this video, I'm going to show you what the One Piece live-action did right, and what the Death Note live-action did wrong. Let's start with... Characters are what makes us connect to a story. A mistake I see far too often in anime adaptations is the main character acting out of character. You could have a story with flying dragons and magical potions, but it could be the modest and conservative character swearing that takes you out of the story. That's because the character is the only thing connecting us to the story in the first place. In the Death Note movie, the Netflix version, Light Yagami is nothing, and I don't say this lightly, nothing like he is from the original anime. Or should I say Light Turner, because that is now his name. The original Light Yagami is the picture-perfect student. To the outside world, he seems innocent and unsuspicious. He's handsome, kind, and academic. And again, I'm talking about how the public perceived him. This part of the outward trade is an integral contrast to who he actually is. A cold-blooded killer with a god complex. Light Turner is nearly the opposite of Light Yagami in almost every way. He's a loner, but the loser kind. He does his classmates' homework for them for quick cash. He's super awkward. However, if someone is in trouble, he won't hesitate to help them, even if he knows he's no match for them. Even if they don't want his help. He also has somewhat of morality when it comes to his victims. This character has more similarities to Deku than to Light. Light is not the only one who underwent changes. Misa, now dubbed Mia, is also an entirely different character in this interpretation. She's the girl Light jumps in to save at the beginning from the bullies. Mia is cool and seems a bit edgy, not in her fashion but in her humor. Light also seems to have a big crush on her, which is the opposite dynamic they had in the anime. The Light Yagami in the anime was extremely careful about making sure no one could connect him to Kira. People always dunk on this scene, but it clearly shows how much Light would think ahead to avoid being caught by L.
With Ryuk's information and my preparations, I can continue to kill criminals whose names are broadcast on the news, while masquerading as a typical high school student studying for his entrance exams. Just watch me, L. I'll solve equations with my right hand and write names with my left. I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
There was always this cat and mouse chase, and that was a huge part of what made Death Note interesting. Turner here, the first kill he makes is his high school bully. He continues to just openly walk around with the Death Note like it's his dream journal, then immediately tells Mia, a girl he barely knows, by committing the murder right in front of her. He doesn't seem to understand how heavy of a crime he's committed, and while I don't expect Light to care on an emotional level, he doesn't seem to care on a logical level. The punishment for crime is jail. When you adapt something like an anime or even a video game into live action, some characterization changes will have to be made. Some things just won't translate as well when real people are portraying them. So you walk a thin line of trying to be true to the characters but not making them so flamboyantly cartoony that they are off-putting to audiences. So while some aspects made sense to cut, like Yagami's theatrical monologues, it feels like so much of what made Light Light is gone, so he's no longer there. This is an entirely different character. One Piece, somehow, has managed to make the characters lovable by both fans and newcomers. Changes definitely were made in how the cast acts, but they are still true to their personality. Luffy is charming, fun, and electric in the anime, and if his personality was written exactly the same, he would be the most obnoxious, annoying character on the planet. I feel like some diehard One Piece fans would disagree with me, but it's true. Real life people acting like cartoons is cringe. His personality was adapted beautifully for the live action. This also goes for Sanji's perfect gag, which barely translates well in its own medium. Now me beating the shit out of the Straw Hats.
Oh, the homegirl abusive.
Yeah, bro, abusive.
The homegirl domestic violence.
Yes.
And Usopp's nose, which isn't a personality thing, but that would have been a lot. I feel like we could have had Sanji's brow though. The biggest criticism regarding characterizations I see is Zoro. Many people believe he is far too grumpy and edgy while his anime counterpart was a lot more laid back and had a sense of humor. The reason I'm okay with the slight difference is it's motivated by in-character actions. Zoro was quite well known in the East Blue as a bounty hunter, to the point where there were some instances people would recognize Zoro before Luffy. So he had been killing pirates for a while and doing it well. Zoro's opening scene in the live action was someone trying to recruit him to their organization because of these skills. This scene never happened in the anime, and yet it's still technically canon. That's because Zoro makes an offhand comment about this hundreds of episodes later, but it shows that the writers know their stuff when it comes to his character. And after watching the live action, I realized how underdeveloped that aspect of his backstory is. I'm confident he will warm to the team if we get another season. These writers deserve a raise, or to get paid in general. People can live with changes that benefit the adaptation or make sense. This is only possible if the characters are fully understood by the writers and director. But that's not the only aspect of a live action adaptation. Casting live action roles for such whimsical characters cannot be easy. They aren't casting a Miles Morales. There are a million of those. These are very distinct designs that can be hard for normal humans to even live up to without some sort of compromise. That being said, the One Piece live action has a fantastic casting. The actors actually look like the characters they are playing while not looking super costumey for the most part. I think that's not as easy as it sounds. I'm looking at you, Titans. They have great chemistry on set and really do favor the characters they are representing. They also know and respect the source material, which is definitely a breath of fresh air. One Piece is a pretty diverse world, so it made it easy to be diverse while also sticking to canon. Handpicked by Oda himself, it's clear that a lot of time went into choosing the perfect cast for the roles. Now let's talk about the Death Note cast. I wanted to mention the race changes, at least the big ones, Light and L. Light has been changed from Japanese to a white American, while L has gone from Japanese to an African American. Now this was done to market this anime adaptation to Western audiences, I presume. But here's the thing, there are Asian people in America. If having an English-speaking movie take place in Japan wasn't something they wanted to do, they could have at least cast actors who look like the characters they're playing. It's hard enough to see this character as Light based on the way he acts, and his looks, they don't help at all. This also applies to Mia. I could not get into L's performance here. L sticks closer to his original characterization, but it seems like it's still just not him. And this is what I meant when I said it makes sense for a character to act slightly different in a live-action adaptation, because sometimes it translates better. L was always weird and eccentric, which contrasted with Light's very conventionally attractive perfect persona, but now they're both kind of weird. This isn't an uninteresting dynamic, it just isn't Death Note. And also, my last thing, L, oh my god, in the live action, sprints and leaps to nearly every conclusion he makes about Kira. And of course, because the plot requires it, he is right. The fight between L and Light is the core of the series. I don't want to get into the intricacies of the plot. We'd be here all day. If that's a video you guys would be interested in, let me know. But here's what I will say about that. I think sticking to canon reasonably, especially with the most iconic scenes, is important. But not only sticking to canon, but understanding why those scenes occurred and why they were important. Sometimes scenes very similar to what happened in the manga would happen in the movie, but it would be done completely wrong and it would lose its meaning. So understanding what you're adapting is a big part of how to make a good adaptation. Final thoughts. I feel like we've outgrown the need for localization when it comes to names. No one's gonna burn in the sun if we hear Takashi or something. And every story that takes place in America doesn't need to have a blonde, blue-eyed lead. I didn't know where to mention this, but Light Yakume's alias Kira is a transliterated Japanese version of the English word killer, which is obviously a lot to explain for a film like this. So Turner just says he chose the name Kira because it's Celtic or Russian for light, and it's literally not. They just made that up. Also, why would you name your alter ego that you should not attach to yourself as another language of your name? Like what? But but aside from the cast, like I said, I'm not gonna get into the plot right now, but aside from casting and setting woes, my criticisms stem from the director not fully understanding what made people love Death Note, and that's why this movie wasn't successful. When you are adapting something, you should be kind of delicate with it. You're working with something that people love and cherish, and people will have emotions towards the work without even seeing it. And that emotion can either turn positive or negative depending on how well executed it is. So we see two examples of where that could go. So I just wanted to make this video to also say that, hey, fans aren't these beings that will never ever be happy. I'm sure there's some people who hated the One Piece live action, but most One Piece fans, at least the fans that I've seen, are acknowledging that, yeah, while this has its flaw, it's still not a horrible live action. It still respects the source material. And even I can say there's some things about the live action that I didn't like. I didn't go into it in this video, but overall, I can tell that the creator actually knows his stuff and respects what he's making. And I hope in the future the more live actions are actually also like, or as respectfully handled. Because, you know, we're going to keep getting these live actions. We can't stop them. So let's at least hope that they're good. Hey guys, it's Spooksy. Thanks for watching this video. I know I usually have this intro near the beginning, but I decided to switch it up today. I hope that's okay with you guys. Comment down below, what would you change if you were in charge of the Death Note live action? Let me know. And yeah, that's about it. Spooksy signing out.